Good morning. I'd like to call the joint subcommittee on K-12 higher ed and CIP to order. Welcome to everybody joining us here in Carson City, Las Vegas, and online. My name is Marilyn Dondero Loop, and I will be chairing the joint subcommittee meeting today. And will the secretary please call the roll?
Assemblymember Howdigi.
Here.
Assemblymember Hafen. Here. Assemblymember Koenig. Here. Assemblymember Monroe Moreno. Here. Assemblymember O'Neill. Here. Assemblymember Torres Fawcett. Assemblymember Yeager. Here. Senator Buck. Here. Senator Cannizzaro. Senator Scheibel. Senator Stone. Here. Assemblymember Backus. Present. And Chair Dondero Loop.
Here. And please mark those present as they arrive. We have folks out doing bills, etc., and so please mark them present as they arrive. Thank you all very much for joining us today. Before we move on to today's budget hearings, just a reminder to silence your electronic devices as we move through the meeting today. Please, if you are going to testify, state your name and spell it for the record. Lastly, if you're giving public comment, please remember to sign in on the sign-in sheet if you are here in person, and if you have a business card, it's helpful if you will hand that to the committee secretary before leaving. Today we will be hearing 3 K-12 budgets from the Nevada Department of Education. Budget account 2622, 2699, and 2718. So I will invite Deputy Superintendent Megan Peterson to the table, and as soon as you are ready, we will begin with budget account 2622, and we will take a break in between each budget presentation so subcommittees members can ask questions, and so go ahead when you are ready. Thank you.
Good morning, Deputy Superintendent Megan Peterson for the record. Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. Jumping straight into it today with budget account 2622. This is our Nevada Teacher Advancement Scholarship Program account. Oops. This provides funding for teachers who have completed their master's degree and have served 3 consecutive years within the Nevada teaching or position within a public school. And this portion of the funding provides the 25% holdback after completion of those 3 years. And so the first the only enhancement for this budget account is E140, $323,000 each year for those who become eligible for this reimbursement after the completion of those 3 years, as I mentioned. And I will pause for questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Short and sweet. And just a minute, let me move behind ahead. Thank you very much. And I do have a question. Can you give us a little bit of an overview of successes and challenges that Nevada Teacher Advancement Scholarship Program during its first biennium have had along the way? Thank you.
Megan Peterson for the record. I'd like to allow the director of this program, Jeff Brisky, to come to the table and share those with you.
Welcome down in Las Vegas. And please begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Dondero Loop, Jeff Brisky, Jeffbriske, from the Nevada Department of Education. I am the Director of Educator Licensure, and I apologize, the Zoom link was for me, so if you would like to take that down, I did rally myself to come here in person this morning because this work is very important to me and to the
We
teachers.
totally appreciate you being here. It's traveling across the state, so we're sorry that you got that. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Yes, the challenges and successes. I'll start with the successes, because so far we've had nearly 200 educators that were able to benefit from this program, the Nevada Teacher Advancement Scholarship. Some of the challenges is not knowing what amount of funding will be allocated year after year, as well as not knowing what the carryover funding will be, if any, until the manual reconciliation with each provider line by line for each scholarship recipient at the close of each fiscal year. Another challenge is not really a challenge, but preparing a presentation and asking the state board to make those awards to be on any agenda. It does take time, and we are estimating we could save some time between around 45 calendar days if the department is allowed to make those awards directly, bypassing the state board. So a few other challenges: the state processes of rebalancing the categories within the account as needed, and managing 5 subgrants for the 3 scholarship programs between 3 different offices within NDE, and multiple processes, as you know, at the NSHE and other provider institutions, so that when those requests are made from NDE, to push those that funding to the student accounts. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. And I believe that Vice Chair Backus also has a couple questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair. My question, I'm not sure if it's going to be for Mr. Brusky or Ms. Peterson, because it's going to be like on a higher scale with respect to this same budget item. But looking at the budget, it appears that in the past 2 fiscal years, we had the $2 million allocated in each year, where about a half of it was awarded. Then coming forward in the budget, we have about, I think, 25% of fiscal year 2024, which is being set forth in the governor's recommended budget. And so I'm kind of trying to understand why it is that we're only budgeting that 25% for fiscal year 2025 and not for the entire biennium.
Director.
Jeff Brisky. Yeah, thank you, Megan. Jeff Brisky, NDE, for the record. This is the amount, as you noted, that was put forward in the recommended budget. However, there is potential to spend the entire amount that was allocated in previous years, as our applications have demonstrated demand. 866 applications for FY25 compared to 294 requests in the first year, FY24.
Okay, and I may be incorrect, so if fiscal's listening to me as I'm saying this, my understanding was that from AB 400, okay, so those unspent funds do not revert to the general fund and balanced forward. So you still have approximately $2 million left over. Is that your understanding also, Mr. Brisky?
Jeff Brisky, NDE, for the record. When I reviewed Dawn last night, we currently have $500,000 in the 25% reserve category.
And let me kind of clarify where I'm going. I'm trying to figure out, okay, so we're adding, I guess I'm trying to understand why the number, the 323,000 was the number that was then selected to be placed in the budget for fiscal year 2026, as it now sounds that from the funding that is rolling forward, that 500,000 is set aside to cover the 25%. Can you kind of just elaborate on that for me?
Sure. I did look into this quite a bit last night, reviewing both Dawn and our Excel sheets where we keep our records. Excuse me. In FY24, the state board awarded $1.5 million. And of that $1.5 million awarded, according to Dawn, approximately $971,000 was expended. So that money that was not spent rolled over. And the number of educators who benefited, as I said earlier, in FY24 was 190, with an average cost of just over $5,000 for each scholarship. The 25% liability for FY24 would be approximately $243,000. And the provider award liability would be, of course, $190,000, $1,000 for each student who finishes their program. If every educator completes their program, it would be an estimated total of liability for FY24 at $433,000 approximately for FY24. The department does estimate that the liability for FY25 would be similar for the 25% liability. However, we believe that the completer fees would not be quite as high because many of the students who started their master's program in 24 are still finishing it in 25. It's to say it as easily as I can, this is a kind of a complicated setup, the way both Teach Nevada and Teach Nevada Teacher Advancement are set up. It can be difficult to estimate what future liabilities are, because it really just depends on how our reconciliation goes at the end of each fiscal year. And looking forward, we try to ensure that we have enough as if 100% of the students completed their program. And for this particular scholarship program, the advancement scholarship, they had to have stayed and taught in a Nevada public school for 3 years after the completion of their program. So our liability would go 3 years from when the students graduated.
Madam Chairman, I have a couple follow-ups because I'm just realizing, so Mr. Brisky, what I'm noticing, so even though I was looking at NRS 391A.675, and I think when you were doing the planning for these funds to make sure that there was money left over to cover the 25% obligation as well as the provider fee, that we also had, it says that the one-time funding of the $2 million for each year of the 23-25 biennium actually does revert to the general fund pursuant to AB 400. And so it sounds from what I'm understanding you saying is that the balance between those 2 million in each year was being somewhat preserved to make sure that there was the 25% out there to cover the 25% obligation, as well as the $1,000 payments to the providers. So with that knowledge, and if those monies were to revert back to the general fund, would it be my understanding then that the Nevada Department of Education would need an amendment to this budget line item because the only amount being sought in the GovRec for general fund appropriations is only $323,628.
Jeff Brisky, NDE for the record. I apologize. It was my understanding that Nevada Teacher Advancement funds do not revert. I would have to go back and relook at that, and I appreciate you pointing that out. So yes, if that is the case, then we would need an amendment to cover our future liability.
Chair, if I could.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Deputy.
Megan Peterson for the record. Yes, I think this is one of the areas where we've been working through interpretations from the budgetary perspective. We have seen those dollars as obligated, and although not expended, they are part of a future liability, which is where the enhancement for the 323 requests to essentially make those dollars available in the next biennium for us to make good on those obligations. So if an amendment is indeed what is necessary to facilitate that, that would be what we request. But there are some challenges in trying to navigate that, and that is what we're seeing here.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much. So thank you for clarifying that. It seems like we may have to have the Department of Education to work with our fiscal team to kind of figure out what we're going to do in that realm, because obviously those monies, if those revert, it sounds like there's an issue there. So my question though is now, if that's one issue, and then addressing an issue forward. My question is, why is the Nevada Teacher Advancement Scholarship Program recommended not to be funded during the 2025-27 biennium then for any new applicants? It sounds like we have a lot of applicants and it's not getting funded for future applicants.
Megan Peterson for the record. I believe that's a result of the current budget balance situation that's trying to be managed.
Thank you very much. And with that, are there any other questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, then we will move on to budget account 2699.
Budget account 2699 is where a number of our other additional state-funded categorical programs reside that were not included in the pupil-centered funding plan, namely because of their focus not being in the K-12 function and more in incentivizing pathways to teaching concepts with teachers, our public broadcasting, education leadership, as well as dual credit programs and adult education. Today, slide 8, we have decision unit E126, which is a dual credit function for students who are in high school, looking to take courses simultaneously in college that would support a career path to teaching. This enhancement does have a technical adjustment that we are working through to remove. And so although we show $238,000 in fiscal year 26 and $284,000 in fiscal year 27, we are looking to remove this from the budget. The next decision unit, E127, represents $314,000 in each year of the biennium for jobs for Nevada's graduates. This represents increases that are part of the contract for the staff that are supporting these activities. And then within this budget account, we have one-shot appropriations for the Incentivizing Pathways to Teaching program, $6.7 million in each year of the biennium. And this funding does provide funding, again, in the same vein of teaching. There is no 25% holdback portion with this set of funding, and can be used in the final 3 years of a prep program for tuition assistance or paid teaching stipends for the students who qualify for this program. And I will pause for questions.
Thank you very much. And I will start out with Senator Scheibel.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you for presenting to us today. I'm wondering what kind of effects the Incentivizing Pathways to Teaching program has had on increasing our teacher workforce in the 23 to 25 biennium.
Megan Peterson for the record. Jeff, I will try to do what I can to limit your speaking and summarize that. And if there's anything I missed, please let us know. So in fiscal years 24 and 25, nearly 900 pre-service educators have benefited from this, either through the tuition assistance or stipends that were made available to them. And then I don't know if you were asking for challenges as well, but I can provide that information. So it is very similar to our teacher advancement scholarship in that it is difficult to know how many of the funds will actually be utilized because of the completion requirements, and so that is unique to each student. And then the carry forward issue that we were mentioning just a little while ago too does also have a little bit of an interplay in this that makes it challenging to know how to address those dollars. And Director Briskery, if I missed anything, please feel free.
Thank you, Jeff Brisky, NDE for the record. I just want to say a little plug for SB 81. It does have language to address this difference to allow carryover funding for incentivizing pathways to teaching. But Deputy Peterson did capture everything.
Any additional questions, Senator Scheibel?
Yes, one more question. Why weren't the wage assessment transfers from Dieter, or why were they excluded? Why weren't they included in the governor's recommended budget to fund the Incentivizing Pathways to Teaching program?
Jeff Brisky, ND for the record. Deputy Peterson, I wouldn't be able to answer why they were not in the recommended budget, but I can tell you that for FY24, we did utilize 1.1 million. And for FY25, we are currently utilizing 2.4 million from our friends at Dieter.
I will. My name is Celeste Arnold for the record, CELESTEARNOLD. I'm the Administrative Service Officer 3 over the Office of Fiscal Operations for the
Will
Department
you
of
pull
Education.
your microphone just a little bit over? Thank you.
In answer to your question, Senator Scheibel, what it is at the time we were building our budget, we did not have confirmation that Dieter would continue to provide this funding. It was only after we had submitted and gone through adjusted base and all those factors that we had confirmation.
So can we expect to see a budget amendment?
Megan Peterson for the record, yes, we are working with them for the budget amendment.
Thank you very much. Any additional questions right now? Okay, we'll go to Assembly Member Torres Fawcett.
Thank you, Chair, and good to see you all again. I really do appreciate this program. I know a lot of teachers that have participated in it and have received the benefit that the scholarship has to offer. I did notice that in fiscal year 2024, only 582 participants received the funds, which is significantly lower than the initial projection of 2,632. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about why that was.
Jeff, excuse me, Jeff Brisky, NDE for the record. I'm not quite sure if I'll be able to answer that question. I can tell you that when we do put out our applications in the spring, the educator preparation providers do give their best estimate to us for how many students they are projecting that will need financial assistance for that fall and for the year. What I can tell you is that the demand has increased exponentially, and that is mostly due to UNLV's Registered Apprenticeship Program. So I'm sorry, I don't know if I'll be able to answer that question.
Thank you. Yeah, and any additional information we can get, and I know that that has improved since that, but I do notice that it was significantly lower in that first year, and that might also be attributed to just like the information not being there to participants. Does the Nevada Department of Education plan to continue providing students who received higher award amounts in FY 2024 with the same level of financial support over the next biennium?
Jeff Brisky, ND for the record. I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes, my question is whether or not the department plans to continue to provide the higher award amounts that were allocated in FY 2024. That same amount of financial support, do we plan on continuing to provide it over the next biennium?
We do anticipate to use the entire amount that is allocated to us, along with the additional funds from Dieter. If you're asking specifically about how the higher award amount for each student is determined, I can say that each student has unique financial aid needs, and the attending institution is best prepared to determine how much tuition assistance is needed, if any, or how much the stipend assistance is needed, if any, for each student. The department did originally have a cap of $8,400 for the student teaching stipend when we were awarding the federal funding, which was close to the average paraprofessional salary for approximately 10 weeks. And that is how we came up with the $8,400. You are correct. Some of the stipends did increase by up to $12,000, I believe. But we rely on those ed prep providers to determine what the best financial aid package is for each unique student.
Thank you. And I do have another follow-up question along those same lines, and you kind of hit on this a little bit with some of the other responses, but can you discuss why the financial support amounts were increased per student, resulting in less students receiving the supports in FY 2024?
Jeff Brisky, ND for the record. I don't have that with me, but I can work with fiscal staff to provide that information for you. And yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. And I want to jump back into what we were talking when we first started talking about the appropriation and ask, what is the impact if that enhancement is changed to a one-shot as set forth in the governor's budget amendment?
Megan Peterson for the record. So similar to the challenges that we were noting with the teacher advanced scholarship, with one shot and it not being identified potentially for carry forward and then being able to meet future obligations, that can create challenges in ensuring that we can meet future needs. And it does introduce instability in our ability to ensure that that funding is available for those in the future.
Okay, thank you. And then what stipend rate per week and tuition assistance amount per credit would provide a stable year-to-year award while maximizing the number of available awards for eligible students with that available funding?
Jeff Prisky, ND for the record. I really hesitate to put an exact dollar amount on the stipend because of what I had mentioned earlier. As you know, when we went to college, it really depended on what our needs were at the time and balancing all the different Pell Grants and other sources of financial aid.
Okay, thank you very much. And I believe Assemblymember Hadagi has some questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have some questions regarding the education funding bill language. I know that the department's requesting restrictive language regarding the state career and technical education funding, that it be omitted in the funding bill for this next biennium. But I know that you're also asking for additional back language to be included in the funding bill to allow for the carry forward of unexpected state funding. And so just a few questions. First, I want to start by asking, what expenses do students and their families have to pay for participation in CTE student organizations?
We're going to ask Director Anna Reynolds to come to the table in Las Vegas to provide that information for
Okay,
you.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning. Anna Reynolds, ANNAREYNOLDS, Director of the Office of Career Readiness, Adult Learning, and Education Options for the record. The student organizations, the career and technical student organizations, are not currently allowed to be paid for with our state funds. So we're requesting the removal of the disabling language so that funding can be spent on these student organizations. Districts are able to fund these with other sources, but often students are required to pay for fees and things for student organizations. So by removing the disabling language, districts would be able to utilize this funding, allowing more of the funding to be spent. Additionally, the funding is not able to be spent on professional development as the disabling language prevents it from being spent on leadership purposes.
Okay, that kind of answers what was going to be my second question, but my first question was, what expenses do students and their families have to pay for participation in career and technical student organizations?
This would be dependent on the district and how they are choosing to charge or not charge students fees for various things.
Okay, and then my second question, you kind of helped answer some of it, but do you know how much funding would be provided to each career and technical student organization if this restrictive bank language is omitted?
It wouldn't necessarily be additional funding. It would be that they would be allowed to use the current funding on it, helping it to be spent to better improve our maintenance of effort.
Okay, but do you have like a dollar amount? Do you know what level of funding would be provided to each student organization?
Ms. Reynolds, would you
I could
please
get back
make
to
sure
you
you,
with that information.
Ms. Reynolds, would you make sure you state your name for the record before you speak? Thank you.
Oh, yes. Yes, apologies. Anna Reynolds for the record. I would be able to get back to you with that information regarding what the costs would be for students, if that's what you're looking for.
Okay, thank you. And then could you indicate why funding for career and technical education should be utilized to fund the professional development of teachers to gain career and technical education credentials to teach dual credit courses rather than school districts utilizing pupil-centered funding plan distributions?
With Anna Reynolds for the record, with our career and technical education funding, we could provide opportunities at the department level for this professional development. Within a district, there may be a small number of teachers that are in need of this professional development because maybe there's not a lot of people that teach that particular content area. So by offering it from us at the department level, we could offer the PD options and offer it to more people to make it more cost effective.
I wasn't asking for follow-up. Can I have one last question?
Yes, you can.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And then one last question, Ms. Reynolds, for me. So how would omitting the restrictive back language and allowing unexpected funds to balance forward result in school districts and charter schools spending down more state funding and meeting that maintenance of effort requirement?
Anna Reynolds for the record, if they were allowed to utilize the funding for the career and technical student organizations and for additional professional development, they would be able to spend the funding on the needed purposes for the maintenance of effort. Also, by allowing for the carry forward, it would give them extended time to do so. Currently, if they were to have extended time to do so, they still wouldn't necessarily be able to spend it all because they can't spend it on the purposes that they need.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And I think we might have some questions from Chair Monroe Moreno.
Thank you, Chair. And my questions are going to be on JAG, the E127 account. Could you just share with us some of the challenges that JAG has had in raising matching grant dollars? Or just raising matching funds for the money that was put in reserves?
Megan Peterson for the record. I believe we have Renee Cantu in Las Vegas who can speak to that. He is a representative with that organization.
Good morning, Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno. Thank you for the question. JAG has been very successful in increasing the amount of funds from other sources that it now raises. When we began, 11, 12 years ago, we depended almost solely on state funding. Today, we raise 34% of the funding that we have in each of our budgets, and the state fund helps us to pay for 66% of that budget. So that funding that we raise is a combination of corporate, school cost share, and other grants and that kind of thing.
Thank you for that. So our notes, as I read them, and if I'm not correct, please correct me. JAG was unable to raise the matching funds to access the full $314,293 for additional fundings that were placed in reserves from the 82nd Legislature.
Thank you for the question, Assemblymember Monroe Moreno. I think last session was a unique session. So prior to COVID, JAG's budget was from the state was $4.2 million plus an additional IFC match, which brought our state funding to 4.7 or 4.8. Forgive me for my lack of accuracy. What took place last session was that we had ARP and ESSER funds that we decided to expend first, but those funds have now been depleted, and we would fully use the $314,000, which basically covers 3 to 4 staff positions, 180 to 240 students.
And thank you for that. And I do understand the ups and downs with budgeting and the economic situations that the state was in and has been in and probably will be in moving forward. But you were unable to raise the matching funds to access the funds that were placed in reserves. So you didn't really tell me what those challenges were in raising those matching funds because there was still money left over in reserves.
So, Madam Chair, I do apologize. If you would give me the opportunity, I would consult with my Director of Finance and Operations after this meeting immediately and send responses to you about why that took place with more specifics. I feel that my own attempts would be wholly inadequate to explain it fully. Is that okay?
That would be okay. And then I have a question for you. If the match requirement was in place this session, do you think that you'd be able to raise that match?
Yes, currently we're raising $1.5 to $2 million from other sources, so we would be able to raise the match.
Perfect, Madam Chair. One last question? Please. Thank you. And my last question, how would
Yes, ma'am.
the JAG program be impacted if the recommended general fund appropriations in each year of the biennium were not approved or were again set aside to be matched with non-state revenues? And I know you said that you're raising between 1.5, 2 million, but if you could just expand upon that a little bit.
Okay, Madam Chair, for clarification, are you referring to the $314,000 enhancement or to the funding as a whole?
I'm sorry, the 314 enhancement, yes.
The 314. So in our calculation, the cost per program is roughly $115,000 per. They vary by rural and urban. And when you do the 66%, 34%, the 314 would result in laying off 3 to 4 FTE JAG specialists who are licensed by the state. And it would also result in basically 180 to 240 students losing service. We would also discontinue service to high need schools that we serve in 14 counties across the state. So we don't know where we would cut it from, but there would definitely be pain for students who rely on the JAG program for their graduation and career goals.
Well, thank you so much for that detailed information. I appreciate it, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any additional questions from the committee at this time? All right, seeing none, we will go on to Budget 2718.
Megan Peterson for the record. Budget account 2718 holds the funds for our Teach Nevada Scholarship Program. This program is for to provide funding for an alternative route to licensure and provide scholarships to students who are entering teaching programs within the university. It also has a 75% portion that is available up to $3,000 per semester to provide funding for tuition costs, and then a 25% holdback as well after completion of a term serving in a school district. This actually represents an enhancement that removes funding, and due to confusion during the budget build process, this was placed in the category and is recommended for removal. It was put into the reserve account, and so it was not needed as part of the implementation. I will pause for questions.
Thank you very much, and I believe Speaker Yeager has a question.
I do. Thank you, Chair. Good morning. I had a question about, during the 2023 session, there was some discussion about this $3.2 million, and then we ultimately put that into the IFC contingency account. And I think we were anticipating that perhaps you would come forward to try to access that money in the interim. Could you talk about why a reconciliation was not performed for the Teach Nevada Scholarship Program in fiscal year 2024 to demonstrate the need for the $3.2 million that was set aside in the IFC contingency account?
Megan Peterson for the record. Yes, this did come back to differences in interpretation. The department was of the understanding that the intent was for us to utilize the funding within our own accounts first from reserve. So we attempted to utilize that funding first and then learned of the intent that we were to provide that information and then request it in advance of that instead.
Thank you, Chair. Could I ask a follow-up on that? So then, based on that answer, does the department anticipate it will submit a request in fiscal year 2025 to seek an allocation from the IFC contingency account of this $3.2 million, or do you think this funding is going to revert to the general fund?
Megan Peterson, for the record, we are working to submit that request and provide the reconciliation in order to do so.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to jump in here and ask a question. Could you talk a little bit about the challenges in the department and what you're experiencing in reconciling the Teach Nevada Scholarship Program account?
Megan Peterson, for the record. Yes, this program started some time ago under leadership that has changed over 3 times with 2 interims, and it was during the 2016-2017 time period that the deputy over that program at the time had maintained those records, and we've been unable to successfully locate them. So we have the best information from the universities that we've been able to receive and can reconcile up to that point. During that time, those programs were also administered directly by the universities. They were awarded the funding fully up front and managed the 75% allocations within their systems. Since that time, we have transferred that function to the department, and so going forward, we will have those records maintained on site and be able to manage those reconciliations going forward.
I appreciate that. So can you talk a little bit then about the factors that contributed to the large increase in the Teach Nevada Scholarship Program participation from fiscal year 23 to fiscal year 24?
Megan Peterson, for the record, I believe Director Brisky briefly touched on this. The University of Las Vegas has done a yeoman's work and job of advertising and facilitating this program and gaining interest. So from fiscal year 24 to fiscal year 25, we actually saw an increase of almost 200 students participating in the program. And so we are attributing this to that apprenticeship program that the university has been working tirelessly to advertise.
Thank you very much, and that's good to hear. Additional questions from the committee on this? All right, well, with that, I believe if we have no more questions, that we will close the budget hearing on these Nevada Department of Education budget accounts. I appreciate you all being here today. We'll move to our last agenda item, which is a public comment. For those of you providing public comment, please remember to state and spell your name for the record and then begin your statement. To call in to provide testimony today, you will dial 888-475-4499. And when prompted, the meeting ID is 881-4218-4204. And then press pound, and when prompted for your ID, please press pound. So we'll start here in Carson City. Do we have anyone who would like to make public comment here in Carson City? Anyone? Oh, here you go. Please come forward. Thank you. State your name and spell it for the record.
Good morning. My name is Gilbert Lenz, GilbertLenz, and I teach ag welding and mechanics at North Valleys High School, which is a career and technical education program. I've been a teacher for 17 years. I'm also an officer in the Nevada National Guard and a combat veteran. When my students graduate from my welding programs, they go into apprenticeships, internships that are paid. They're paid by the businesses that hire them, places like Martin Iron Works and Silver State International, a lot of good places around that hire my students and pay them to learn their profession. We have these big, complex bureaucratic processes to fund teachers come into our profession. We have scholarships. When I went through my student teaching, I think I had to pay 12 credits to the University of Nevada so they could observe me a few times while I was teaching at Sparks High School, which was very expensive for a few observations. And I know they need to certify me and give me my certification, and I believe in professional educators. But these programs are kind of convoluted the way that they're funded. It would be a lot more simple to simply fund student teachers to student teach, just fund the districts and pay them to teach as student teachers. Instead of having all these different scholarships that really are not equitable, because as you guys just spoke about, there's a huge demand for these scholarships. People need that money. It's very difficult that semester where you're student teaching and you're not making any additional money. We just need to fund student teachers to do their student teaching through their districts. And I know that's the intent of these. It's not really reaching down to those students. The second part of this is I've had several of the Nevada Teach students come through my program. I'm the only ag mechanics teacher in Washoe County, and so if students are interested in teaching agricultural welding mechanics, they end up coming through my program. And they're great kids. They come in, they work hard. It's just not enough time. It's not like the old traditional student teaching where they're spending a whole semester with full control of my classroom, and they're able to get that experience that allows them to be successful in their first year in teaching. So I would just urge you to look at those programs and see if there's a way we can simplify them and make them funded in such a way that they're able to spend more time in the classroom. The second piece I wanted to briefly talk on, I don't know how much time I have left, or the CTSO piece. You guys mentioned CTSO funding. My CTSO for agriculture is FFA, and my students largely have to either fundraise or pay for all their programs when we go through our FFA competitions. Now, CTSOs are the #1 standard in all CTE programs. They're an essential piece of our classes. This is where the kids learn their leadership. It's where they go and do those competitions that really hone their skills in CTE. And if those are not funded, and we have that limiting language right now, which you guys were talking about earlier, if that limiting language can't be removed and we can't provide additional funding for CTSOs, right now my students are going to be competing in state competition for FFA starting this coming Sunday, which is during spring break for me. That's unfunded. I've been at practice all week this week at my school, unfunded. My students will be going to competition next week, all unfunded. They've been selling freeze-dried candy and beef jerky and everything else, trying to get there so they can go and compete in something that's in my standards as a co-curricular activity, as an intracurricular activity. So we need that money for CTSOs, and that's all I had to say.
Thank you very much. Thanks, and thanks for the advertisement for the fundraising. Appreciate your service on both ends, on your military and as a teacher. So thank you very much. All right, go ahead, please, when you're ready. State and spell your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Kaylee Krentz. Last name is Krentz. First name Kally. I would like to say ditto, of course, to what Mr. Lenz over here said, because I work at his feeder school, and so I see the work that he does. And I'm actually here today just to kind of share a perspective of what it's like to be a teacher in education right now. I also am an elective teacher. I teach choir. And like I said, my name is Kaylee Krentz. I'm a public school teacher at Washoe County School District. I have 3 college degrees, including a master's in education. One would easily assume what life of a college-educated mother with a master's degree might look like. You'd work a fulfilling day as a middle school teacher, head home, make a nutritious dinner for your family, play with your children, spend quality time together, and then go to bed so you can get a full night's rest, start all over again, and live the American dream that we were promised as educators, right? Well, that would be wrong. I get to eat crappy fast food in my car that I got using an app point from McDonald's. I sit in a small car that I had to borrow from my sister-in-law because mine broke down and I can't afford to fix it until my next payday, which is only once a month. I'm worried because my entire paycheck is already accounted for, even with the pay increases from the last session, and I have to find a way to fix my car to make it work this week. I wear a pink handmade crochet beanie that I was gifted from a student that I stayed after school, unfunded, to teach how to make in my fiber arts and crochet clubs. I'm sitting in the tiny car with my 15-year-old daughter doing her AP World History homework in my passenger seat, upset because she can't see because it's getting dark. My 5-year-old son crying in the back asking, Mommy, can we go home, please? I want to play with my puppy. He's Chiweenie Tiger. He wants to read his new book we got at the library, which also was recently cut. So it's hard enough as a teacher and a mom to get books, but then that's a separate issue. Or play on a swing set that we got for free on Facebook. I have to tell him, no, sweetie, we have to make a few more DoorDash deliveries. Mommy has to work her second job for at least a few more hours. This is the reality of a lot of us teachers with master's education. Sitting in our car, having to DoorDash because other jobs can't accommodate our schedule as teachers. So I'm here just to encourage you guys to continue working on increasing student funding and teacher pay, fund education, make students and education a priority, because a master's educated individual shouldn't have to have multiple sources of income to barely survive. And so with that, I encourage you guys all to pass the plan and continue funding education. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional? Go ahead, please.
My name is Alex Gauvain, AlexGauvain. I'd like to thank the committee for this opportunity. I'm a fourth grade teacher at Stead Elementary School and a Washoe Education Association building rep. I've been a teacher in Washoe County for 13 years. I hold master's degrees in elementary education and English language learning. I'm speaking today because I'm deeply concerned about the governor's proposed budget. Last session, teachers, parents, and legislators worked together to secure critical education funding, and I applaud that effort. But now we have a proposed $9 million cut to Washoe County, and we risk losing all that progress. Nevada still ranks 47th in per pupil spending, and these cuts will only set us further behind. For 13 years, I've worked in Title I schools, where students face the greatest challenges but have the least support. Many of my students struggle with poverty, food insecurity, and trauma. They come to school already at a disadvantage, and we lack the interventionists and staff needed to help them succeed. Behavior challenges are on the rise, and teachers are stretched really thin. These schools don't need Band-Aid solutions. They need real investment and intervention programs, smaller class sizes, and more support staff. Smaller class sizes will allow for better student-to-teacher relationships, fewer disruptions, and more individualized instruction. Right now, overcrowded classrooms make it impossible to meet every student's needs, and we cannot expect teachers to be everything for every child while managing excessive class sizes. Title I schools need intervention programs, smaller class sizes, and more teachers. Cutting the budget takes resources away from students and staff, neither of which we can afford to lose. We must continue to attract and retain highly effective educators, and without question, give our kids a fighting chance by funding to the national average. That's the pass the plan. Our students don't get a second chance at their education. They show up every day despite challenges they didn't choose, hoping for a better future, but we do have a choice. We can choose to give them the support that they need and not let them down by choosing to withhold funding. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, I don't see anyone else here in Carson City, so we'll go to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas to make public comment? Please go ahead when you're ready and state your name and spell it for the record. Thank you.
Good morning, Dolly Rowan. DOLLYROWAN. Speaking for myself as a concerned citizen and a Clark County School District early childhood teacher, and as an NSEA member, I am asking you to please pass the plan. The funding is critical for our student success. We have good news and bad news in Vegas. Dr. Ebert has been appointed as our superintendent, which gives us much hope, but without proper funding, more the same is not going to help our district achieve student achievement. We have to reduce our class sizes. We have to provide the safety for our students, and we need to be able to individualize our education and teach at our student level for our students to achieve. We also need to continue providing the programs that allow our students to achieve their career pathways. The cuts are detrimental, and I just want to share my little story. I'm an early childhood teacher, retired and rehired. Thank you very much. Love my job. But the challenges have become so intense and so great. They're only 3 and 4, but when I get 4 and 5 into my classroom in a 1 to 2 week span, who have never had intervention, the challenges have become overwhelming. And as much as I love my job, I had to send out an SOS and ask for more help because our class sizes have been increased and our staff have been decreased with our current changes in our district. So I'm alone if I send my assistant out to support my students during their half-day inclusion program. I'm alone when she takes her 45-minute break, which is her 15 and 30 combined. I am alone with these students when when she's called out to diaper another student because we don't have anyone else. So most of my time, I'm alone with my students. I am a very good teacher, and I'm sending an SOS. Most of our classrooms in self-contained are with subs or inexperienced teachers and don't have the confidence or the feeling of support that they need to send out an SOS. So they're alone in those classrooms with kids that have serious medical concerns. Some are hostile. Most are all non-compliant. How do we meet their educational needs when we can't even keep them safe in our classroom? And our campuses, those class sizes for our upper grade levels are just too high. The challenges have become so overwhelming, and I'm begging you to please continue the funding. Don't allow us to continue to be the 47th in the nation for funding. We passed SB 543.
And I thank you so much for your comments, and we hear your concerns, and thank you for teaching those little people.
Thank you.
Any additional public comment in Las Vegas? Okay. Please, is there anyone else? If anybody else is going to speak, you can come and fill the chairs. If there's just one of you, that's okay as well. Please go ahead when you're ready and state and spell your name for the record.
Hello, good morning. My name is Elias, E-L-I-A-S, Salas, S-A-L-A-S. I am from Las Vegas, Nevada. I am representing myself. I am from Silverado High School, Las Vegas, Nevada. Currently, me and other students are fighting to save the program because my school is removing the JRTC program due to budgeting. This program helps us academically, helps us build leadership skills. It also benefits for the military career as well. It prepares us for the outside world after high school, but not only those things are beneficial from this program, but this program also helps us build connection, discipline, and knowledge. Will these students have to be worried about these fundings that are going to these programs? I would say that these students shouldn't worry about their education, especially the programs that helped them through high school. My story is this program has helped me a lot, but not only this program, there's other programs that are beneficial for other students as well. And my school is cutting this program because of budgets, and I really hope that this can help us and get the attention as well. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your service, and thank you for being here today. Please go ahead, the next person at the table.
Good morning. My name is Marciano Sopris, M-A-R-C-I-A-N-O-S-O-P-R-I-S. I'm a student here at Silverado High School as well as a cadet in our JRTC program. And to touch up on what my companion here said, JRTC is a vital part of our community. We do a lot of support for our community, things like community service, community support, and helping our fellow schools, not just for Silverado. It also teaches us vital leadership skills and helps us develop those skills for not only the military, but also for careers after high school, be it in the workforce or in any other decision that we try and go for after high school. It also helps us better our education and learn things like financial responsibility. And it helps us develop a lot of our personal skills like confidence and the ability to talk to people like this committee. And my story here today is when I first started high school, I was not very motivated as a student. I wasn't able to make very many friends, and I did not have the confidence or the ability to speak in front of people very well. And JRTC has helped me change all of those things. I've become a better student. I've had better enrollment because of JRTC, and I've also gained the ability to speak. And that is all I have to say.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being here and giving your story. And go ahead, please, when you're ready.
Hello, my name is Kiara Bautista Orozco, K-R-A-R-A-B-A-U-T-I-S-T-A O-R-O-Z-C-O. And I just want to say that I'm just here for JRTC, and I think that JRTC really deserves to be a part of Silverado High School and should not be removed because it has changed so many students' lives and has been part of my life especially. This has just been my first year here, but ever since it has changed my life. It has helped me improve in many different ways I'd never thought I'd be able to improve. And it helped me make so many friends when I first came here. It made me feel like home. It made me feel like a family that I can be myself in. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for being here on your spring break. Thank you for your words. And we're glad to see the ladies involved. So thank you very much. All right. Anyone else in Las Vegas for public comment? All right. With that, we will go to the phone lines. AVH, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to offer public comment today, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hello?
Please go ahead.
Okay, hi. My name's Kimberly Shepard, S-H-E-P-H-E-R-D. I'm an adaptive physical education teacher in the Carson City School District. Good morning, members of the committee. I'm here today to voice my strong support for the Nevada State Education Association, NSEA, and to advocate for the passage of the proposed plan authored by the Commission on School Funding that will reinforce vital education programs. These programs are crucial in addressing the ongoing teacher shortage crisis in Nevada. As an educator with over 2 decades of experience, I have witnessed firsthand the struggles our schools face in recruiting and retaining qualified teachers. The financial burden of pursuing a teaching career is a significant barrier for many aspiring educators. By supporting these programs, we can provide meaningful incentives that not only draw new talent into the profession, but also ensure these individuals have the resources they need to succeed in the classroom. The Nevada Teacher Advancement Scholarship, in particular, offers crucial support for current educators seeking additional training and certifications, an investment that directly enhances student learning outcomes. Additionally, the Teach Nevada Scholarship has been instrumental in helping aspiring educators offset tuition costs, creating a more accessible pathway into the profession. Our students deserve educators who are equipped, supported, and empowered to provide the highest quality education possible. By passing the plan, we are investing not just in teachers, but in the future of Nevada's children and communities. I respectfully urge you to stand with NSEA and support the plan to ensure we are strengthening our education system and meeting the needs of students across the state. Thank you for your time and commitment to Nevada students.
Thank you very much. And next caller, please.
Hello, my name is Philip Kaiser, PhillipKaiser. I'm a National Board Certified Teacher. I have a bachelor's degree from Johns Hopkins University and a master's from George Washington University. And I spent over 20 years in the classroom in Washoe County. I typically had 6 classes with 30-plus students in each, so 180-plus students. Included in that number would be 18 to 20 students with special needs. Each of them required an individualized education program with IEP meetings after school to go over their plan for success. In addition, on any given day, 10 to 20 students would be absent. Some were sick, some had dental appointments, some were absent with sports teams, and some just cut class. But they all missed instruction, and that's an obstacle to their success. Absenteeism is a huge problem in Nevada. Can't teach them if they're not there. Currently, there are about 1,000 teacher vacancies statewide, so those classrooms lack permanent teachers. And many of the vacancies are for special ed. We need to attract more teachers to meet these students' needs. I believe every student deserves a fair shot at success, but how can we provide that with our student load so high? As you know, the Commission on School Funding drafted a plan to bring Nevada up to the national average in funding over 10 years. And last session, you provided a big step toward that goal. But even with that, Nevada is still $4,000 below the national average. $4,000 per pupil below the national average. Please help every student succeed and take another step toward that goal. Pass the plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Good morning. My name is Susan Kaiser, Kaiser. I'm a National Board Certified Middle School Science teacher, now retired, but still passionate about public education. I am a native Nevadan, but I've not always lived and taught in this state. For 13 years, we called Maryland home, and it was where my children began their public school education. The well-funded neighborhood school was staffed with certified educators who often had the help of an aide. The opportunities for one-on-one instruction for students were frequent and allowed teachers to assess when a child needed more strategic interventions. I know this because my own daughter began to fall behind in math. Her third grade teacher noticed immediately and arranged for a math specialist to meet with Rachel until she got caught up with her classmates. Then my mother suffered a stroke the summer that Rachel finished 5th grade, and we returned to Nevada. Fall arrived and we enrolled all 3 of our children at Jesse Beck Elementary School. The first week when I arrived for pickup, Rachel had good news she couldn't wait to share. They had been tested for reading skills, and she was one of the top 3 readers out of 96 graders. I asked who else was in the top 3, and she said her new friend Stacy and another boy who were also new to Jesse Beck. What I want you all to know is that all 3 of these top readers were transplants from Maryland. This wasn't a fluke, it was the funding. In Maryland, my children enjoyed all the resources necessary to meet each individual child's needs. Today, Montgomery County spends over $18,000 per pupil compared to Nevada's $13,000. If this body adopts the researched and recommended plan crafted by the Nevada Commission on School Funding, Nevada will increase per pupil funding to $16,000 by 2035. The commission was formed 5 years ago. Our students' future flourishing can't wait one more minute. Please pass the plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next caller, please.
There are no other callers to offer public comment at this time.
Thank you. I would like to thank everyone for being here this morning, especially our presenters. And we'll see you back tomorrow. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.